Hey guys, HelpingHans here, and today I'll be bringing you a new build order for the British faction in Company of Heroes 3. I want to stress this is a build order for team games, and a different variation of this particular build would be needed for 1v1 matchups. For this build, I'll be using the Indian Artillery Battle Group alongside to help give extra utility and firepower. If you've been having trouble up against the bunker spam from the Wehrmacht Italian coastal strategy, then this is the build order for you. To start with, let's have a look at the early game build order. Here we have two different starts depending on which faction you're fighting against. First, I always suggest to try and build yourself a Vickers machine gun team, and then get tech to tier 1. Once tier 1 is built, you have two different build options here. If you're up against DAC, you want to go probably for 4 infantry sections here, and you'll also want to get the AT rifle upgrade on your first infantry section, because you'll probably be up against things like the 250 half-trick, maybe a motorcycle early, and you'll be needing to be able to counter that, so that will be your counter for that. You'll also want to go for the scoped recce package for the Lee Enfields there, and that will give you utility, give you a bit extra anti-infantry firepower, and some really good utility with the flares. And that will be really helpful with this bishop build, as you'll soon find out. Then you will probably get another AT rifle section because, you know, of how many light vehicles the DAT player normally has. And then possibly a 4th infantry section here. Kind of optional maybe, depending on how much, you know, you're lacking in anti-infantry here. Because if you go for the double AT rifle, you'll be struggling maybe a little bit against their infantry. So maybe another infantry section with another recce package upgrade would be needed as well. And once again, you know, having 2 of these guys on the field is great because you can keep dropping flares in the sky to give yourself vision. Against Wehrmacht, you haven't really got to worry about early vehicles that much in the early game, so I normally go for just double recce package upgrade on the first 2 infantry sections, followed by a 3rd AT rifle section, because by that point you probably might need to deal with some armor, and you'd always, I think, want at least 1 AT rifle section as well, because, you know, some diversity in your combined arms against armor is always a good idea. Next, let's go on to the mid and late game stage of this build order. So as soon as you can afford to do so, I would highly recommend getting out the 4.2-inch mortar. And you know, you'll also get the CMP truck with it as well, which is great because you can then immediately convert that to an ambulance, which gives you a lot of staying power on the field. You want to be moving that around and healing your troops on the field so you don't have to retreat as much. And the 4.2-inch mortar gives you just really good firepower. And you know, you got a flare that you can drop every so often as well for free, which, you know, you can lob that flare really far forward, you know, much further than the recce package infantry sections can. So you want to be utilizing that flare all the time, and that you want to be using that in conjunction with the bishops later on, as this will provide plenty of vision for those bishops. So once you've got your 4.2-inch mortar out and you convert it to a med truck, then you want to be going up to tier 2. And you'll probably might be needing an anti-tank gun at this point, potentially, if you're up against, you know, light vehicles like the flat Verveling half-track, maybe a 221, things like that. You need to be able to counter it. I always, you know, every game, I never play a Company Heroes match without getting at least 1 anti-tank gun, so I always get 1 anti-tank gun there. At this point as well, you probably want to be going and getting your grenade package upgrade on your infantry sections, so that if enemy vehicles try to dive you, you can lob AT grenades on them, and also, you know, rifle nades to get in there and maybe wipe some clumped up units. Also, then you might want to be thinking about going to the training center and getting your infantry training upgrade to give extra veterancy on your infantry, as well as making them harder to hit and so on. It's just a good buff to get, and one of the early upgrades you will wanting to get for your infantry. Then, once you've gotten that stuff, you want to be teching to the bishop, so you want to unlock the bishop, and then you want to be building 2 bishops here, and then you also want to, in the training center, getting the light vehicle training, which will buff them up a bit and give them a big chunk of veterancy as well, so that helps them on their way to veterancy 1. And with the bishops here, you want to be combining them, as I said earlier, with the mortar, with, you know, flaring. So you're constantly flaring, and then giving your bishops targets. And you'll have your infantry sections, the recce sections, which will also be, you know, if you've got 2, you should have 2 of them hopefully, and then you'll be dropping flares in the sky as well periodically, so that you constantly throughout the match have targets for your bishops to aim and shoot at. This build order, guys, as well, I just want to add is a build order that I've kind of put together to counter the annoying bunker spam that we see a lot of Wehrmacht players doing right now with the new Italian coastal battle group. So this is like a build order designed to counter it, really. Now we go up to tier 3, and once you get to tier 3, you'll be probably wanting to get yourself out a Crusader, and you are wanting to be using this to, like, you know, help support your front line and maybe flank and push and be aggressive, and then you want your Grant potentially afterwards, because it's, you know, a bit more tankier, there's a little more firepower, and then a 17-pounder into the super late game, if the situation is warranted, if they've got lots of slow-moving tanks and stuff, and they haven't got too much artillery, a 17-pounder would be great to help you defeat a lot of Axis armor. You're also wanting to be getting a second sapper, second engineer squad out, so that you can repair your tanks and help repair your bishops if they get in trouble. And also at this point as well, once you've got a couple of tanks out, you'll then want to be going your armor vehicle training as well. And I've just got a little bit down here with the training sensor, so you can get a rough idea of how you want to tech with your training sensor. Your infantry training first, then probably light vehicle training to buff the bishops up, armor training to then buff the tanks up, and then team weapon training last, because that'll buff up your, you know, your anti-tank gun, your 4.2-inch mortar, as well as your Vickers if you've still got those alive. But generally, this is how I would roughly tech. I mean, you probably could go with team weapon training first, and maybe before armor training, you know, so you could go either one really first. But definitely infantry training, light vehicle training, I would say, in that order, because you do need to get those bishops and you want to vet them up as quickly as possible. So here we're going to do a demonstration of this build order in a custom game mode against the AI here with the cheat mod turned on, so I can speed things up and show you guys how this all works. So what you first want to do is send your first sapper squad out, start capping on the map using the shift commands on the mini map there. Then I'm going to press W to get a machine gun built. Then I'd probably follow my sappers and, you know, behind with my machine gun. My sappers would spot for my machine gun. And at the same time here, I'd also be making my section command post. And then we want to be getting 3 infantry sections, like so. So once again here, we probably want the AT rifle for 50 munitions, the recce package for 45. Depending, you know, how many of these we get is depending on which faction we're fighting. So over here, up against Wehrmacht, so we probably would do 2 recce packages first, then AT rifle. But if we're up against DAC, we'd probably go AT rifle first, boys AT rifle first. Now at this point, you want to go for the Indian artillery battle group, and you want to confirm that. And then with the first CP command point, you want to get the artillery support out. Now this is 440 manpower and 20 fuel. So you want to call that on as soon as you can afford it, really. You want to get it on as fast as possible. And then you want to be upgrading the medical conversion. It's worth noting that as soon as the medical conversion is teched and completed, the mortar automatically gets detached from it. That was instant, so if it, you know, this will take some time for it to tech. It wouldn't have been instant, you know, in a real life scenario. So you should be able to drive it to the location and then unpack the gun. Worth noting the med truck can still tow the 4.2-inch mortar while it has been converted, like so. So you just got to reattach it again if you wanted to keep going after the CMP truck has been converted to a med truck. And there we go. So now this mortar has really good range. So if I press Z on my keyboard, you can see on the mini-map how far it can shoot. So we can almost hit the center VP right in our base here. Probably good on this map. I'd probably want to put it maybe about here. It's kind of covered by, you know, no enemy infantry can really get easy access to it from here. Or is, you know, this is providing a line of sight blocker and a shot blocker as well. This kind of cliff face here. So I'd probably put the mortar around about here maybe, or even behind here, for instance. And in this location, again, if I press Z again, we got complete coverage over that VP. And what you'd want to do here, guys, is that with this specific build, we'll turn the fog off for a second. And I will drop a flare here. So this flare, you can lob this flare really deep. And off it goes. And this will give us a lot of vision, which is great for our, you know, to provide, you know, targets for instance, for the mortar that fired the flare out, but also for our bishops that we're going to be building later on. Also the recce packages with their flares as well. They can drop one out as well. And you've got to bear in mind, guys, these flares are free, though they do have a cooldown of 3 minutes. So basically, you know, with this kind of build, when you have 2 recce package infantry sections and the 4.2-inch mortar, you have a lot of vision available if you keep these units alive and you keep utilizing these flares. There's no reason why you should never be utilizing these flares. You always want to keep spamming them. It's great for your teammates. It's great for you for spotting for yourself, and you know your teammate might want to be able to drop an off-map artillery strike as well. So you want to be always utilizing these flares, but try and time it up so that you always have one available when you need it. Don't just spam flares without no thought to them. Make sure maybe your bishops are off cooldown, ready to fire. You don't want to flare and then have your bishops not being able a chance to shoot, because that wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be good timing there, would it? One more thing to talk about, guys, is that the recce sections also have access to the forward observer artillery barrage for 35 munitions. So what you do is you just lob it down in any location within their range. They'll drop, you'll see some red flares drop, and the 25-pounder in the base will turn and then begin to shoot it. So with this ability, with this upgrade on the sections, it's just a nice way to get more kind of indirect fire support, which will help you against people who are camping with bunkers and just general support weapons and things like that. So once you've got all this, you probably want to be getting your infantry training. So I will grab that, and you'll see if I click my infantry section here. That'll take a few seconds. Let me just quickly speed that up. So we'll just do ability charge, and that's all done. And you can see here that when you get the infantry training, your infantry sections get 800 experience. So they basically almost get veterancy 1 for free by doing this, and that's a great thing to do because you want to upgrade your infantry. This is for your sappers as well. Your sappers instantly get 1 when you do that as well. But it does apply to the Vickers or the mortar because that's the support weapon, team weapon training over there. Also, it makes you 10% more accuracy, 10% reload speed, and squads are 10% harder to hit. So that's one of your first upgrades you want to do in your training center. Once you've done all that, you want to get your next tier up, your tier 2, your platoon command post, and then it's about right now where you want to be trying to get yourself your anti-tank gun out. And you want to be using this to support yourself and to cover for, to kill enemy vehicles, but it's kind of obvious. Also, you should be thinking about getting the grenade package, as we spoke about earlier in that build order image. And also, you want to keep your med truck kind of... You can keep it in the base and healing both teammates if you're yourself and your teammate, but I personally like being a bit more aggressive with this and putting on the field and having that forward field presence so I don't have to retreat my units as much. But it is very squishy. It will die quite easily, so you want to make sure you're being smart with it and such. So there we go, we've got that out. So then once you've got your anti-tank gun out, you maybe, don't forget to lay mines always and good key points and choke points as well to cover your flanks. You want to be going for the bishop. And there we go, once you've got the anti-tank gun out, go for the 2 bishops. There we go. And then infantry training center would be the light vehicle training. So you can see there's no veterancy on that. When you buy the light vehicle training over here, like so, there you go, they gain 800 experience, which is almost half the experience they need to get veterancy 1. Also gives experience to the med truck as well, which will, I'm not sure what the veterancy gets, but increased rotation acceleration. I guess it makes it, faster. I mean, this can normally get upgraded to the flat gun upgrade as well, the AT rifle upgrade kind of thing on it. But yeah, this is a bit of extra veterancy. We'll buff that up as well. And then, yeah, like I say, with the bishops, you just want them constantly barraging. You never really want them sitting idle. And one thing people always don't really utilise with bishops is that when they get veterancy 1, so we'll just give this vet 1, it does have this direct fire shot. It does cost 25 munitions, but against clumped up infantry, and if they've got no AT capability, it's nice to maybe bring the bishop up, and use that ability and then back them off real quick. Not enough people do that, and I highly recommend it. I'll quickly just demonstrate how effective this is. We'll just make these enemies real quickly, and then you'll be able to see if I just aim right in the center here. Boom. Look at how much damage we did there. We literally, did annihilated half the health of all those squads and almost wiped the artillery officer. So utilize that direct fire shot as often as you can, but be mindful that, that this unit is like 2 shots from a pack gun or 2 shots from a Panzer or anything like that will kill it. So you need to be really careful when using the bishop in, using its direct fire mode. But try and use it if you can. And the way, I would always advise, before doing that is, again, use the flare. Drop a flare down, see if it's safe to move that bishop up for direct fire mode, because, there might be a pack gun lowering in weight, but if you remember, use your flares from your infantry sections, you'll know if it's safe to move it up forward for a direct fire shot or not. Okay? And then, once you've got your bishops out, your company command post, and then that's when I'd probably get a Crusader out, and I'd be aggressive with this. I would, if there's not much armor on the field, I probably would not upgrade its 6-pounder gun, because it would, I think it slows its fire rate down a little bit as well, and its main, its gun, I think it's a 2-pounder gun at the moment, is very good, just slapping infantry and stuff like that. Once it starts armor showing up, you probably want to upgrade it with 60 munitions for its 6-pounder, but yeah, in general, it's just a really good unit, and it's fairly cheap as well, and it's, just for its price, it's just so much better than something like the Stuart. That you can get over here as well. But you've got to tech the Stuart and then buy the Stuart. I mean, I might as well. For me personally, I always like to go for the Crusader over the Stuart. And then after that, you might want to go for tech the Grant. And then you got a bit of more firepower, extra firepower. There's tankier than the Crusader, and you just want to be utilizing all your units in unison. Here you can see we're pop cap now, so we can't go for the 17-pounder, but you might end up losing something down the line, and it doesn't hurt to tech the 17-pounder, so you've got it available, and you might want to, grab it later on down the line when you have some spare population cap. And then also don't forget to go for the armor training. Once you've got a couple of vehicles out, that's when you go for the armor training. But you know, depending as well, you know, maybe you didn't go for tier 4 just yet. You might want to go for the team weapon training to buff up all the support weapons. So we see these support weapons, no veterancy on any of these support weapons yet. We buy the team weapon training, and you can see they've all gotten a bit of veterancy there, which is quite nice. And then the machine gun as well instantly gets vet 1 due to that team weapon training. And the tank one, as you can see, they get 1250 experience there. So in terms of your commander abilities, apart from the 4.0 inch gun, you probably want to go for like Valor, and then Gurkhas, and then probably Volunteer Infantry. The reason you want to do that is because you just want to, you know, this these two upgrades here just buff up your core line infantry. I mean, you might want to call in a Gurkha in later on if you lose one of your infantry sections. You want some more hard-hitting, more elite infantry. You could replace it with a Gurkha squad potentially. And then, you know, off-map barrage, so you can spend munitions doing some of that. And then I would probably recommend going for perimeter monitor rather than the BL 5.5 artillery emplacement, because you've got the bishops instead for your artillery, and this is an emplacement it can't move, so it's easily killed with any off-map artillery strike. So yeah, I would go for that instead, and then again you just pop that. I'd activate that, and then any enemy you see, you'll know it's active because all your blue sectors will turn slightly yellow, and then any enemies that get in these zones will automatically be barraged by this artillery. So it's quite expensive, but it's a good defensive ability to pop if you're under a massive assault. So yeah, that's basically the core of the build, and yeah, just want to keep dropping flares, keep providing support fire, because you know, in the mid game you're going for this indirect fire. You're kind of relying on your teammates to provide support with you know, flanking enemy tanks and stuff. You might be forced to go for a second anti-tank gun if you know your one anti-tank gun and your couple of boys sections are not enough. So you know, by all means do that if you need to. Maybe you can't afford to take up to tier 4 just yet, so you know, get the other anti-tank gun out if you need to. If you're up against a lot of armor. But basically, you just want to constantly use your bishops to be slapping down and killing bunkers. Like you see, the first med bunker comes up, you want to be bombarding it as soon as possible and keep firing it. This is the bishops are also amazing at killing the Obice emplacement from the Wehrmacht. So I'll just quickly spawn that in for you guys here. Let's say we knew its location, or we dropped a flare out. So we'll do that. We'll drop a flare over here with the mortar first. Like so. Vision up. And we wait. See it. And then I'm going to move the bishops up a little bit closer. A little bit closer. But we're going to, yeah, we don't know if there's any army here, so we might want to drop another flare here. So it's safe to move our bishops up. But obviously we know it because we're just doing a testing thing right here. Then we know it's there, and then we're going to barrage it. And we're just going to barrage with one just for the moment. I'm just going to turn the fog of war off now, just so you can see how much damage we're doing to this. You might actually be able to see it here. So you can see here with one bishop firing, direct hit does about, what, 20% damage. And I think one might be enough to even kill it if it lands all its shots. But if you fire two at the target, you're very likely, you know, with just one barrage from each of them to kill it. As you can see. And, you know, because it can't move, it's very, you know, it's very vulnerable. And I would advise not going. And there we go, we've killed it. I mean, you can recrew it, but we're firing still with the second one here. And, you know, we're very likely to finish that off. Let's turn off the fog of war. Oh yeah, we killed it. So there you go. So, beautiful. And, you know, that was just one barrage each. You didn't have to do more barrages. You didn't do everything super fancy. Just need to bring in bishops just within range. And we're firing literally on the max range of our circumference there. And, you know, the further away you shoot, the less accurate you're going to be. But we're still, even on max range like that, we were able to kill it with one barrage from each of those bishops together. So, and then these as well, like focus firing on like a bunker would be great. So you just want to keep smashing that med bunker with a command bunker down, keep firing, and also, you know, utilize it to like get your 4.2-inch mortar as well to keep barraging those specific locations. Even when the mortar is off, is on cooldown for their 4.2-inch barrage, you can still use attack ground. Can't do as, you know, you can't go as far with attack ground. So this is the normal barrage, but attack ground is E. You see there, so I'd have to, if I tried to do that, it would have to unpack and move forward, I believe. Look, so you can unpack and move forward there to do an attack round. But if you're in range, you know, utilize the attack ground as well to keep the pressure on, because that's what people always forget to do. They forget to keep up the pressure, and that means there'll be a window of opportunity there where your opponent can get in there and keep repairing those bunkers and you know, those emplacements. If there's a window where they can do that, they will take it and they will repair it, and that barrage that you've done will be for nothing. So you just got to keep the pressure on. If they try and repair under fire, there's a high chance then of you wiping that whole squad, because repairing units take more damage. So just make sure you constantly got like one bishop constantly hitting one bunker, and then when that's off cooldown, you fire the other bishop on it. And then also, don't forget, you've also got a 4.2-inch mortar that could also be barraging that same kind of defensive position, that bunker or that emplacement the Axis have got. So just keep the pressure up, and you will do just fine. One more thing, guys, I want to talk about is that you can team up with your mates and utilize their ammunition storage. If you've got an American teammate and they've picked advanced infantry, ask them to go for the ammunition storage and build it near your bishops, because that will reduce the cooldown fire times on your bishop's barrage. So here we're outside the firing arc. We're going to fire one round off. I'll stop it. You see it's 41 seconds there. I reverse this back inside the ammunition storage range. It's benefiting from it, as you can see by that symbol. We're going to fire one shot. Cancel it, and you can see there 31 seconds. So there you go, 25% reduction in the fire times. So yeah, try and utilize an ammunition storage ability when playing team games, and utilizing the bishops if you can. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully that build order was useful for you, and you can now employ it in your Company Heroes 3 matches. If you're looking for a real-life match where I actually employed this strategy, there'll be a replay. Hopefully it'll be linked up here. So click on this link over here, right here, if you want to see that match. And yeah, if you like the content here, and I'll be making more Company Heroes 3 content as well in the future, please do consider hitting the subscription button. Apparently 75% of my viewership is still not subscribed, so please do hit that subscription button. It really helped me out. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.